I think women have a bit of imposter syndrome. I felt like I would have checked off all the boxes and then I would have been able to start my own thing. And a whole container is like 10,000 packs.
A 20-foot container?
40-foot container.
Oh my goodness.
Being a bit naive in terms of just how much capital consumer brands require. I didn't expect the whole loneliness thing to be so real, but it is, especially in the earliest days.
But I must say, when I first got to know about Aire, I also didn't put much thought into it. I also wasn't looking to invest into Aire. Hello everyone. Today we have Nivedita, who is the founder of Aire. And Aire is a FMCG company that focuses on seniors. And adult incontinence wear is their first foray into this space. Now, Niv started Aire in 2023, but they have already hit 7 figures ARR. They have more than 3,000 5-star reviews. In fact, they are in over 100 point of sales, including FairPrice, Watsons, and NHG Group. She has been featured in Channel News Asia, Vulcan Post, and she's backed by DSG, a VC, and also veteran angels Sheng and Siong. In fact, she has just closed a pre-seed round, and I was lucky to have invested into her company as well. Now, Niv is looking to expand into Southeast Asia and also East Asia, and she has an ambitious goal to unseat the incumbent in this region. So Niv, I wish you all the best. I want you to be the #1 brand here in this region as an investor into Aire as well. So Niv, I got to know you through the Sheng and Siong, right? When they invited you for pitch day and also subsequently during the office visit. But what did you do before you started Aire in the professional career?
Sure. Firstly, thank you so much for having me. This is my first time doing an interview like this, so apologies for my awkwardness. Before starting Aire, I spent my career in consumer goods. So I started off, I went to uni in Singapore, I went to SMU, and right out of uni, I started working at an agency designing brands for Unilever.
Right.
So that included brands like Vaseline, Chitra, a lot of beauty brands, and really understood the impact that brands have on people's lives and the deep connection between human psychology and brand building. From there, I moved to Diageo, which is the parent company of Johnnie Walker and Smirnoff. It's the largest alcobev manufacturer in the world. I spent around 3 years doing sales and marketing across South and Southeast Asia, so around 10 markets in Southeast Asia and a similar number in South Asia. Did my MBA from Columbia Business School, tried consulting, realized I missed operating too much, so ran back to consumer, and that time I joined Kraft Heinz, which is Kraft mac and cheese and Heinz ketchup in Chicago as part of the CEO program, and was leading operations on e-commerce, which was a single-digit contribution to the overall business, and then COVID hit, and it became a huge part of the overall strategy. Moved back to Southeast Asia and worked for a B2B e-commerce play again, and then most recently was at Meta before starting it. So spent a good 10 plus years in the consumer space, retail, FMCG specifically, and it's an area that I love.
Wow, I can see you are really a high flyer, a go-getter here. But I know that you started Aire because of your grandmother, because of incontinence issues, right? But I think most people wouldn't start a company because of that, right? So how did that process came about?
Yeah, so I think that process was quite interesting because it was twofold. So I had just joined Meta and had been laid off. And the whole process of joining Meta was that I knew I wanted to start a company. And I had built my career trying to check off boxes. Like I did brand building in my first job. I did sales and marketing at Diageo. I did e-commerce at Kraft Heinz. And then Meta was going to be the last sort of check mark in terms of understanding performance marketing. And then I felt, I think women have a bit of imposter syndrome. I felt like I would have checked off all the boxes and then I would have been able to start my own thing. That process just got accelerated, and it was also good because I worked at Meta for 5 weeks. I got paid 3 months gardening leave, so it was not a bad outcome. And it was the simultaneous process that I was speaking with my mom, and she's the primary caregiver for my grandmom. And discovering the pain points that existed with adult incontinence, the kind of products, just looking at things like how the brand talks to the consumers. It's quite embarrassing, like bright yellow packaging, caricatures of, old people. And coming from a brand marketer perspective, it was like, I would not buy this. How can I expect someone, just because they're old, do we assume they don't have opinions or likes or dislikes? And so that was kind of the starting point. From that process to starting Aire was a good 9 months, and it involved a lot of speaking to customers, validating the idea, understanding their pain points, then even things like doing blind testing with our samples to see whether it outperformed the legacy incumbents in the market, to validate if there was a need. Because I started Aire bootstrapped, and so pouring in a lot of your money into something is quite scary, coming from a corporate background especially. So that was the whole process. So that was the trigger, but it took another 6 months to validate and get that confidence that I had a right to play in the space before actually launching.
Right, okay.
9 months, yeah.
So you did a lot of legwork actually.
I had to, because it's not that, so for our products, they're customized, they're tailored for Asian sizes. We did a lot of consumer testing, both with individuals as well as with nursing homes, to understand, what are the issues with the current products? How can we improve? Working with different manufacturers, customizing the offering. And the thing is that it's not a small scale product because it's quite bulky. When you customize, you have to bring in a whole container, and a whole container is 10,000 packs.
A 20-foot container?
40-foot container.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was
That is just for the starting.
Just for the
phase.
starting, it doesn't matter, you can't do, it's not like we're doing something which is handicrafts or small scale, which you can get, smaller sample batches. Here we're producing, but we're producing with an FDA, ISO, CE certified organization. And so you have to kind of fully commit.
Right. And you're really going against some big names in this space, right? Like Tena and Lifree. It must be daunting to go up against these big companies, right?
Yes.
What gave you the courage to really go into it, knowing that there are already incumbents in this space?
Yeah, so I think first, being a bit naive in terms of just how much capital consumer brands require. I did, despite having spent so much time in consumer, I think a lot of the brands I'd worked with were legacy brands versus building brand awareness. So it was a bit of maybe foolhardy kind of naivete. But beyond that, the reason was that we did these blind tests. And so we compared our products against the competitors, the names that you mentioned, and we came up on top of them in terms of fit, performance, absorbency, comfort.
Wow.
And that was the kind of thing where because what's the point of creating something if it's as good as or less than the incumbent? The incumbent has millions of dollars, they have brand awareness, they have distribution, they have huge teams. So why play in that space? For us, it was the customer feedback where they would tell you that, this product, your product is giving me the comfort to sleep through the night. The big names are not giving me that. Similarly with things like rashes. So basically it was customer feedback which gave us this confidence that the product has legs, it has a need in this market. And so that's kind of...
So, excuse me. So that 40-foot container, was it before or after the blind test?
Oh, it was after.
It was after?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first one, so the whole process of from discovery was, a 6-month process involving speaking to folks, understanding, for you and me, we don't experience urine incontinence. But there's a lot of challenges, both from a psychological perspective, in terms of what is the top 5 metrics that consumers are looking for, what are the challenges they faced with the existing product as well as the existing brand. So we did that process. Then once we identified where we want to kind of over-index, for us, one thing is absorbency, because incontinence is very personal. So unlike period pain, or menstrual issues where you can always cover, if you have a stain, you can cover it up with a jacket. And every girl's done that. Or babies having an accident. If a baby has an accident, it's kind of cute. Here, if it's like a person going to work and they have an accident, firstly, the amount of urine output is 200 ml. They're not able to hold it in, and it's not like something that can be hidden. So it has such a big impact on your psychology that some folks we spoke to stopped going into work because they had an accident at work. Some stopped hanging out with their family and their loved ones. Some thought that they smelled, and so they felt like there was a whole, psychological issue with it. So yeah, we did all this. We figured out what we wanted our product to really stand for. Did numerous rounds of iterating on the product and the samples, and those samples were the ones that we actually blind tested with customers against our competition. And once we narrowed that down, that's when we placed the order.
So far, maybe can you share with us what kind of traction have you achieved?
Yeah, so we launched in June of 2023. Now it is, I think, close to 2 years that we've been in the market. So in those 2 years, we, like you mentioned, we're on track. We're doing a 7-figure ARR and annual recurring revenue. We've partnered with NTUC FairPrice, Sheng Siong, Prime Supermarket, as well as Watson's, hospital pharmacy groups like Sing Health, National Healthcare Group, the NUHS, which is the National University Health System, so Ang Teng Fung, Jurong Health, Community Hospital. So around 100 different points of sale, and that also includes online at Redmart, TikTok, Lazada, Shopee, and our own website. We have 3,000 plus 5-star reviews, and we also expanded our range. So when we started, we just had our flagship product, which was 1 liter absorbency. And then we launched the Ultra range late last year, which is 2 liter absorbency for really heavy overnight leaks based on consumer feedback, especially both from the end consumer and the caregiver, that night times were the most challenging for them.
Right, okay. So right now, I know you have about 9 SKUs, right? In the earlier days, as you were iterating the product, doing your R&D, how did you know that your product was good enough for launch?
Because of this blind testing and the sample testing. So all our products have actually been co-created with the community.
Okay.
So our first range of products as well, like both the nursing homes and the end consumers were the ones who tested the products, tested against competition, told us what changes they wanted, whether it was, the kind of like even something like the waist size. So for us, our sizes are tailored to Asian sizes, meaning that our regular range, the waist starts at 26 inches. In our Ultra range, it starts even smaller, 22 inches. Because as you age, you have more muscle atrophy. And a lot of our competitors, the MNCs operating through distributors, their sizes start at like 30 inches, 31 inches. And so things like that. So the reason we had that confidence was because we built with the community and they told us what they were looking for and we worked with them to kind of provide that.
Right. So in this journey, right, what do you think was the most important thing that you did that helped you to get to where you are today then?
I mean, in terms listening to the consumer and never kind of assuming for them.
Right.
I think for us, like the consumer feedback, the community feedback, right now, I still answer all WhatsApp messages to the company website.
You personally answer all the messages?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So I personally answer all the messages. I personally pack all the samples. So we have like a sampling program. And it's important, like we have investors, VC investors, right? And they think I'm crazy. They're like, what are you doing? You're
all VCs think founders are crazy.
But it's a concerted decision that we're not going to assume what our customers want. And especially because seniors as a group have been overlooked and have been stereotyped, and you always assume what they want, right? So for me, it's quite important. And that's why apart from just the WhatsApp for business, even on my regular WhatsApp, I have like about 100 different customers. Some of them will like message me memes every day, things like that. So I think that's the thing that sets us apart, and that's what I'm most proud of.
I think that's really interesting because I think one of the important things for you to do is to really get to know your customers as you iterate your product. And you're doing that validation, right? And each iteration will only get better and better. And you're building that relationship with your customers. So I think that really helps you to get the product to be launched off. Okay. So as a founder, right, you have to be grinding every day. It's a very lonely affair at times.
Yes.
There are times when it's so discouraging as well. Have you ever lost confidence in your idea, and thought about quitting? And what stopped you from, just giving up?
Yeah. I didn't expect it to be this. I didn't expect the whole loneliness thing to be so real, but it is, especially in the earliest days. Like now we have a team. When I started, it was just me bootstrapped, and we didn't have like the 100 points of sale, and you're spending your own personal savings, and you're trying to figure out, is anything even going to happen? So I think the toughest thing is having that faith that things will turn around. Yes, I thought many times that my life was more cushy when you have a steady paycheck, you have leave that can be signed off, you don't actually have to log in if you're on leave. But I placed an order for a container, and I have rented a warehouse, and I have to kind of power through it, because it's not like I can store this product in my house. So I was kind of, I gave myself no option but to figure it out.
It's a do or die thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes that is what helps us to push ourselves forward, right? Because you have no way out, so you just got to bulldoze yourself forward.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we all have 24 hours per day only, right? And we have limited time and capacity, especially as a founder. You have 101 things that you need to do. So, how do you decide what tasks you want to focus on in your daily running of the company?
I think for me, I'm lucky that we've built a small team, and that has really kind of given a lot of ability to delegate and have people who have ownership and skin in the game with you. But apart from that, I think the thing that I've learned the most is prioritize what is urgent, and prioritize, just the 5 things that you can get done in a day. Usually I have like a to-do list, and that includes everything that I want to get done. Earlier, I would beat myself up if I didn't finish the whole to-do list, and then then that means that you're basically working 24 hours, and then you don't have the brain space to kind of think more strategically or have new ideas, because you're just so keen on checking off everything. Now I think I'm giving myself a bit more grace to say, what are the top 5 things I want to get done today, and what's okay if it's moved to the next day.
Oh, that's a very structured way of getting your things done. Have your task list all checked out, right?
Yeah. I think it's just habit.
But some people say, right, as an entrepreneur, right, you have no right to a work-life balance, because if you really want to succeed, you've really got to put in that extra hours, 101%.
Yeah.
Do you think work-life balance exists for founders or entrepreneurs?
I actually heard Peck speak about this. So Peck, the founder of Blood, and I think she said something very interesting, which is that it's work-life integration. For me, so I'm not married, I don't have kids, so I don't have those many responsibilities per se, and I'm lucky my parents are self-sufficient. I mean, it's my choice, right? I work over the weekends because I want to, the things that I need to get done. But the way that she framed it was the way that I really like, which is that it's not work-life balance. It's not that, you're going to check off on Saturday or Sunday. It's more that you can make the trade-off. I think in her case, the example she gave was if she needs to pick up her kids from school, she'll do that, but she's probably going to clock in after that to make sure things are done. For me, I need to get some exercise in every day because it helps my mental health. And so I'll do that, but then I'll come back and I'll check my whatever I need to do after that. So
it's good they're putting exercise in. It's really important.
Yeah.
It gets you running, the energy, and you get refreshed.
Exactly.
So right now, I know you have already 5 staff on your team, right? You started out solo. What made you finally decide to bring someone on board, and how do you decide what are the tasks that you will delegate to them?
So I only hired after our first fundraising round was completed. So we raised our pre-seed round with DSG last year, and that was led by DSG along with participation by Wing Vasiksari. And that's when we made our first hire. it was pretty clear in terms of which were the areas where I had a gap in skills or a gap in network. And so our first hire, his name is Alan Hong. He's the head of our sales, our offline sales, and he came with 5 years of experience building Kraft Heinz in Singapore. And so he had, worked with distributors, he'd worked with retailers, he knew trade marketing, the back of his hand. And that's been invaluable because he's been the person who's opened, our Sheng Siong accounts, our National Healthcare Group accounts. And so he's brought a very complementary perspective as well. Whereas mine is more maybe more marketing focused and more online as well.
Okay.
So that's how we split.
So you mentioned your first hire was after the first funding from DSG.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a requirement that they put for you? That you got to bring someone on board?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I think they are looking at the holistic picture. It's probably going to be tough after funding for you to run the show alone. You need people on board to really get things off the ground, right?
That's also their push right now.
Right now, they're pushing you for more, to bring in more people. Yeah. Okay, so can I know roughly, when you started Aire, right? How long before you decide to, or at least thought about bringing on funding or VCs or even angel investors?
That's a great question. I initially didn't want to. I had worked in a Series B startup which was I was based in Singapore, but I was working, it's an Indonesian startup. That startup had raised $150 million from Jeff Bezos. It was his first investment in the Southeast Asia region, as well as Tencent, Process, Sequoia, all the big names. So I had experienced what VC-backed startup, targets are, goals are, things like that. And for me, I had really wanted to start off bootstrapped. But I think along the way, I learned two things. One is how important or how lonely it can be, and how having, the right partner is almost like having a sounding board, which is something which is super critical when you're doing something solo. And then I think secondly was capital, because consumer brands take a long time to build. You need to be present physically, you need that availability, you need to do marketing. You cannot assume that just because you think your product is great and 100 people who participated in the customer study think it's great, that millions of people in Singapore will even know who you are. So from a capital perspective, I couldn't fund the marketing with my personal savings, and unfortunately did not have a family who was going to, I don't know. And I would not ask my family either to put in that kind of capital to start off with. So,
right. So that means the VCs will help you in areas that you couldn't do it yourself or you need help with, right?
Correct.
Because I think one of the roles that at least I've learned is that VCs and angels, we need to be cheerleaders for the founders. But we need to encourage you and help you along the way. And I think DSG and maybe Tershing and Xiaoning also doing a great job for you.
Yes, it's been incredible.
So in this fundraising journey, what was the most difficult aspect in convincing the investors to come on board?
To be honest, I think it's the category itself. And I think that's what kind of makes me more passionate about it as well. Because we're very lucky, like with DSG, who came in when we didn't have the traction that we have today. They had the faith, they had the conviction, because at that point it was just me. And then with Tershing and Xiaoning as well, they really understood the problem. They spent a lot of time, speaking with folks in their community. But the reality is that it's not a sexy category. And a lot of VCs, at least this is my 2 cents worth, is that people, invest in things that they are personally looking for themselves. And that's also the marketer's fallacy, right? Like a lot of marketers like to work on brands that they would use themselves, like beauty or skincare and things like that. So I think that's the thing where it's quite challenging to try to convince people of the issue and to build for a population that is not them. And especially for you're talking about seniors, you're talking about urine leaks. It's what's this girl doing? Why did she just leave Meta and talk about why is she talking about, adult incontinence? I think that's the big thing, because I've had some investors, say my parents don't experience this, so I don't even think there's a market. So that kind of stuff where like some of my friends say, if you spin it differently, right, instead of it being adult incontinence, if you had just put an AI in front of it, your fundraising would have been much.
Now everything is about AI.
Yeah.
But I must say, when I first got to know about Aire, I also didn't put much thought into it. I also wasn't looking to invest into Aire. But I must tell you, Sheng and Xiaoning really like who you are, things that you've done, your capability. And from there, for me, I actually looked deeper into your company and listened to what they were sharing, and subsequently your pitch, or the pitch that you came, right? So I think your personality, your ability to communicate really brought us on board. So I just want to encourage you that you are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Now, on the flip side, before you accept funding, right, what do you look for in a VC or an angel investor before you decide to take on their investment?
I don't know if this is the right answer or not, but for me, somebody who actually understands the problem or wants to empathize with what we're building. And that's very important for me because it is something which is deeply personal. It is something that affects, your quality of life, and you have to kind of be willing to understand who a senior consumer is and respect that they are a consumer who's driving a $4.6 trillion economy. It's not just grandma and grandpa sitting in a park and looking out into the distance. I think like Dershing was saying, he plays, I think, was it squash or tennis or pickleball with somebody who's 87. And, the fact that he has that understanding of, just the vibrancy and the curiosity of our seniors, that's something that is super important to me. So folks who are very empathetic to the end consumer. Second is you understand what building a consumer brand takes, because consumer is a specific process where you need to wait for retailer listings can take anywhere till a year to come in. You have to really like the process of everything that goes into it, from assortment to planogramming to supply chain to the marketing and brand building. So I think those are the two things that I kind of over-index on.
Right. Okay. So I want to ask you, you've been doing this for more than 2 years already, right? What is your one advice to other founders who want to start their own company?
I think you need to really like your consumer, because otherwise it's very difficult to justify the, if you just look from a pure like ROI perspective, you would, if you're working a corporate job and you're doing pretty well, like your benefits, your lifestyle, the money in your bank compared to what you would be spending if you started something, there's no like argument for it. But if you really love the consumer that you're building for, it makes everything much easier. So don't do something because it's hot and trendy, but you don't actually like, if your consumer called you at like 9 p.m. on a Sunday, would you pick up and would you be irritated, or would you be like, I want to talk to you and I want to understand what your issue is? So I think that's the biggest thing, because they say the days are long and the years are short. So that is the one.
I think that's good, because you are really focused on the consumers, right? They are the ones who buy your products and give you feedback. So you really got to care about them in order to succeed in any space at all, actually. But do your customers really call you at 9 p.m. at night?
No.
Okay.
No. But they do call on Sundays and other.
And you reply
days.
them?
Of course.
It's amazing, amazing. Okay, we'll just do something fun for now. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do a lightning round for now, and I'm just going to give you 2 choices, and very quickly, without thinking too much, you're going to choose either A or B.
Okay.
That will give our viewers some insights into your thought process, right? So the first one, work from home or on-site team?
On-site team.
Would you launch your MVP with issues or delay your launch for perfection?
Delay your launch for perfection.
Right. And would you hire someone with talent or someone you can work with?
Someone you can work with.
Would you hire friends or family?
Neither.
No, you can't choose. I knew you were going to say neither, but if you had to choose one, friends or family?
Family.
Family. Now, would you fire someone fast or would you coach them for a longer period of time?
coach them, which may or may not be the right answer.
Now, would you rather go for terms with big orders, that means payment terms, or smaller cash sales?
I know what we've done is terms with big orders.
Okay. And would you take funding from somebody you don't like, or will you just walk away?
A walk away.
Would you let go of a co-founder or risk sinking together?
Luckily, I'm not in that place as a solo founder. I think let go.
Let go. IPO or acquisition?
I mean, right now it seems very far. Ideally, you would an IPO, but honestly, it's like we're too premature. We're too small to know the answer to that.
And finally, would you hire talent from your friend's startup or miss out on top talent altogether?
You mean poach someone?
No, it may not necessarily poach. It could be the opportunity presents itself.
If the friend is okay with it, then why not?
Okay.
But if it is like shady, then probably not.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Niv.
Thank you
for your
so
time
much.
here
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. And I think we got good insights into Aire, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And I mean it. I hope to see you being the top in this region.
Fingers crossed
Fingers
with your
crossed.
support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.